How's it going, ladies and Bruce? I'm Bobby Sixkilla and welcome back to the Divine Deception. It is time for us to start a new run, one of these two in fact, and as I believe this is Locke, and seeing Locke is also many of the other characters, I feel like this is a good one to jump into for now, until we get a key that lets us go any further, because we're stuck on most of them at this point. Let's jump in, shall we? Act 1. Pit Boss. Or maybe it's not Locke. Is it Marduk? No, it can't be. Ah, Panthea. A lot of people call it an ugly city. It was derided as rotten. Of course, I'm not talking about on the national scale. I'm talking about the people who actually live here. People wise enough to see all its faults. They look to how the duets have taken over the streets. A low crime rate sure as hell doesn't mean crime doesn't happen. They look to how Olympia has been slowly becoming a monolith of culture. Nobody likes a big monopoly swallowing everything else. They look to how stagnant things have been for the last few years. People can always find things to complain about in their situation. And when that happens, they want that situation to change. And they complain and they complain and they complain, and they have every right to do just that. It's the right of every person down in their luck to lament their fortune. But me? At times like these, I tend to see the beauty of Panthea. No, not the beauty seen from the outside. I couldn't give two shits about how many mansions were built in some forest. The grand and beautiful designs all over the place didn't really match my aesthetics. Honestly, all that stuff just made me more resentful than anything else. I found the beauty in this. The nightlife. The hustle bustle of the city. It was far later than anybody should be out and about, and yet, look at how many people were out and about. For business, for pleasure, a mix of both. It was a city of hunger, and hunger I could respect. Though maybe that's just ego. Because I was probably hungrier than anyone else traversing these dimly lit roads, and that hunger was motivating my little walk to a local restaurant. I could see the distinctive sign further down the road. I was getting close. I read at this point I suddenly began to do a mental check of my appearance. Gave myself a once-over and on the dim glass of a clothing shop. I was never one who overly cared about my looks, but I definitely cared about my look. When a passerby saw me, the first thing they'd notice was my flashy suit, a purple blazer with green stripes running down it. I wore it over a pure black button-up. And the thing that kept it all together was this bright red tie. My pants matched the colour of my blazer, if a bit more toned down. The only part of my attire that looked remotely pricey were my brown loafers. Yeah, it was certainly a look, alright. Maybe it was a touch eccentric. Or, to put it favourably, cheesy. If you really wanted to go for the jugular, it was slimy. But you know, I liked it. I liked it a lot more than the greasy mop of a wig I called my hair. But not much could be done about that. Pleased with my self-analysis, I turned around and leaned on the glass. Oh man, it's times like these I wish I smoked. I mean, I was happy with my choice not to. It does terrible things to your lungs, and I planned to live a long life. Still, there were certain points in my life I desired exactly what cigarettes provided. I was pretty certain that if I was a smoker, I'd have been taking a long drag right about now. Instead, the most I could do was take a deep sigh. Not nearly as fun. So then, did I want to go ahead with tonight? If my hunch was right, and it tended to be, this would be the night that things really went into high gear. I was already pretty deep in Panthea. To pull out now would be a massive waste of my time and resources. Not to mention, I'd be giving up on the reason I came here in the first place. But the alternative? People were fearful in Panthea for a reason. It was a dangerous place. And I wasn't scared of the duets, or something like that. Every indication showed that they were your typical gangster organisation. Powerful, but I knew how to work around them. So then if not them, then who? What? Like it or not, the duets have carved out a pretty solid monopoly of crime here. There weren't really a lot of other threats that I could see, but that just meant I couldn't see whatever other threats there were. And that was scarier than anything else. I've been to enough of these broken cities to already tell that there was some deep darkness at the core of this place, and it might not be the type that I could afford to cross. So why stick my neck out like this? I was putting a lot of skin into this game, but there was no need. It was a big country. There were plenty of smaller, risk-free fish to go after. Looking at it 100% logically, there was no need to go in deep like this. So much sexual innuendo in this spiel already. Ah well, gamblers weren't really logical, were they? Like I said, I was hungry. Enough with hesitation. This is just pre-game jitters talking. I was smarter than just about anybody else in this hellhole. A deeper darkness? Psh. Since when did I get so dramatic? No. Every rube walk in these streets showed their hunger on their sleeve. So long as I kept those hungers in mind, I'd be fine. Worst comes to worst, I just flee town. I was good at that at least. I stopped, leaning against the glass, and resumed my walk. I was really close to the destination, Nahoy's Nest. There was no big billboard advertising the location, nor flashy colours, just a humble wooden sign. And that's all the advertising a place like this needed. As I approached, a man swung open the door. Looked like he was leaving in an incredibly sour mood. I could hear him cursing under his breath. A few steps behind him, some blonde was also leaving. However, she was walking the other direction, and she had a distinct smile plastered on her face. A familiar smile. That's a story. But if I stopped for every story I came across in this town, I'd never get anything done. As I entered Nahoy's Nest, I could hear the bell attached to the doorframe ring. New customer. The restaurant was nice. Quaint little place. Quite little cramped, but that was fine. A couple of wooden tables, some chairs, neat candle lighting. Some old posters of musicals, were they? They had some signatures. Clearly something the owner felt passionate about. What was most notable was how the restaurant seemed to be empty. Usually this place had at least one legit customer ordering something. Must be a slow night. Alright, enough pussyfooting about. I walked up to the receptionist. Hey Mickey, what's up? How's it hanging? I'm doing okay, Locke. You? I'm doing. Sorry to hear that. Let's just say there's a reason I came here. But you must get that a lot. More often than I like. Well, don't mind me. I don't intend to be a nuisance. That's the thing about nuisances, they rarely intend to be them. How you wound me, Mick. How you wound me, Mick. But seriously, you know me. I know a lot of nuisances. The way this conversation's going, I'm starting to think you're a nuisance yourself. I don't get a lot of company up here. I like conversation when I can get it. So that's why you should like me. I always give you some good conversation when I swing around. That's true enough. So then, what are you here for? You actually in the mood for a meal? I'm here for the same reason I'm always here. Because I'm hungry. Like, you realise it doesn't actually answer my question. Mickey, have I ever been here for actual food? I don't know, you can start. Our service is actually pretty good, I'll have you know. Yeah, well, no arguments there. But no, you know why I'm here. Mind letting me down? Without the password? Isn't the password reserved for newbies? Not regulars like yours truly? The password is the password. You need it to enter. Rules are rules. Jeez, you're killing me. What, you think somebody's going to be able to just disguise themselves as me? Just say the thing, dude. Fine. I bet myself against yourself. Alright, this way. The receptionist gave me a nod and started moving to a nearby door with a big employees only sign. A sign that was disobeyed almost 100% of the time. I followed him into the room, looking around one last time to make sure that nobody was looking through a window. Not that it'd be my responsibility if somebody saw this. The light was already on in the closest closet of a room. At first brush, it looked like it was a room for storage. But then Mickey pushed on a specific plank on the left wall, and the plank pushed in, and with it followed the wall. A reasonably disguised secret tunnel. As soon as you went down that rabbit hole, however, the entire vibe changed. It wasn't suddenly fancy or anything, but wood turned to stone draped with furs. It wasn't dark, it was dark blue, then dark green, then dark purple. Indeed, the light slowly pulsated between the cool colours, creating a surreal atmosphere. I finished walking down the stairs and nodded to Mickey as he began to return to his post. This is the real Nahoy's Nest. The biggest and best underground casino in all of Panthea. It was one of the few places blind to riches in the city. Rich, poor, middle of the road, all work welcome if you're willing to keep a secret. And no place for elitism here. This is the only place you could really let your gambling spirit run wild. You couldn't afford to be choosy, which is why you saw so many big spenders living it up in a dingy underground lair. Concrete walls decorated with crude posters, tacky fur carpeting, dance music filled the air, albeit at a lower volume than might be expected. They had some pretty good sound insulation, but if you're running an underground operation, you can't be blasting tunes at full volume. But you couldn't complain to the owner if you wanted to stay here. If they took complaints, they'd definitely do something about the lighting. I don't know why anybody who'd appreciate the lighting, consisting of low pulsating coloured lights and a single disco ball. Oh wait, I did know one person. Me. I mean, apart from the practical aspect of it, I just kinda dug the style of it for its own right. Not many places like this. Places packed with elation and sorrow. Where some were looking for a good time and some were looking to make money. Where all were living a life of vague illegality, a comfortable blend of illegality for that matter. This wasn't a hole for hardened criminals. If the police ever busted this place, it's unlikely many charges would stick. But illegal in the literal sense, it wasn't legal. That added an extra sense of tension upon everything else. This is my kingdom. These were my people. My gut instinct was to immediately hit up one of the tables. But hey, let's take it easy now. Good night, out started with drinks. For now, I just hit up the bar. I made my way over, and luckily, at the moment I was the only one getting a drink. That meant I could have a private chat with the bartender. I like talking with Ossa. A shame he didn't like me. Locke. Hey, whoa, what's that reaction about? Just acknowledging that you're here? Yeah, here to give your bar some much needed patronage. My bar's been doing just fine, thank you. As has my casino. Ossa wasn't just the bartender, he was also the pit boss, and the owner of this whole franchise. Well, owner. Anyway, some people might think that the owner acting as a bartender is a little odd, and they'd be right. But all things considered, this is a small outfit. Private rooms aside, the bar had a view of the entire casino, so Ossa could multitask. Besides, according to him, he enjoys the act of bartending. So what'll it be, Locke? Have any suggestions? Yeah, my most expensive drink. Oh, you. I guess just get me some meth vodka? At this, Ossa raised an eyebrow. What? Nothing. You intend on actually doing some gambling tonight? Obviously, or else I'd go to a bar, not a casino. And I'm just curious why you started with meth. What can I say? I'll have you some vodka. Besides, I've got a high alcohol tolerance, and I do my best work when I'm just a little bit tipsy. At this, I winked at Ossa. If he saw this gesture, he gave no sign of it. Instead, he slowly turned around and reached for the drink that I'd asked for. He made no rush in filling up my shot. Ossa wasn't exactly a fast mover, another reason why I was so grateful to have his undivided attention. When he handed me the glass, I toasted him, then immediately downed the shot. That's the way to do it. Ah, that hits the spot. I'll give you this, you're a unique drinker. That's the best compliment you could give me. Now that that's done, just give me a glass of some beer, dealer's choice. Just want something to sip for a bit. And that's what you want. Ossa shrugged and turned back toward the rack. You know, you've been showing up here a lot lately. And I thought that that'd make you at least the least bit grateful. Me? Grateful to one of my customers? Alright, well, bad word choice on my part. Just fucking, I don't know, less outwardly hostile? I really don't feel any particular way about you. If it makes you feel better, I've been told by my friends that I give off a hostile air. I believe it. I only asked because your nightly visits have stood out to me. You strike me as the type to have a life. Implying the people who show up at your casino this often don't have lives, huh? Once again, I got the feeling Ossa had a weird resentment towards his own clientele. Damn straight I have a life, buddy. Gambling is my life. Maybe I'm not being clear enough. You seem to have a lot of money to throw around. What can I say? I'm a good gambler. Not that good. I've kept track of your games. You don't win nearly enough to make a profit. Well, who said my winnings are from here? You're not helping your case. How do you figure that? You and I both know that you don't make big bucks from gambling on a whim. You don't even make big bucks from being skilled. If you're saying that you made it big from some previous gamble from wherever you came from, then either you're a miraculous idiot, Ossa placed my glass of beer down on the counter with a bit of force, or you swindled that money. Ossa gave me a bit of a stare. I didn't break eye contact as I grabbed the beer and took a sip. What can I say, mon ami? I'm adored by many ladies. Miss Luck is just one of my conquests. If I didn't know him better, I would have thought that Ossa just rolled his eyes like a teenage girl. I'm just saying, you better not be causing any trouble. You know what I do to cheaters, right? Ossa, the dried blood on your knuckle tells the story far better than you could. At this, Ossa just grunted and went back to polishing another empty glass. I intended to make some more small talk. However, before I said anything, my eyes were drawn to the events playing out at the poker table behind me. Fuck off. The sound of a glass being slammed down onto a table echoed throughout the place. Oh, this is going to be good. Standing on one end of the table was Polly Deismer, troubled heir extraordinaire. That dude was as good a propaganda machine against his family company as they've got. He seemed to trip into scandals at every possible opportunity, and his family seemed to equally treat him as a complete disgrace. On the other side of the table was a face I wasn't familiar with. Ah! There was some redhead chick looking reasonably frightened. The girl was pretty attractive, wearing some oversized glasses and a fashionable outfit. The stacks of cash sitting on her side of the table was also a plus. Behind her was her friend, wearing a slightly odd denim outfit. She looked less scared, more pissed off, though not nearly as angry as Polly was. You really just gonna go into a casino and cheat people? Well, not this guy, honey. I'm not another one of your stooges. I'm sorry, but I don't know what you're talking about. I get being upset. I did take a lot of your money. But you bet it. I don't care about the money. I don't give two shits about the money. Fuck money. What I care about is you've got the gall to try and cheat me. Cheat you? What do you mean? I was really sure I followed all the rules. We went over it so many times. No use hollering there, Polly. You're in the Hoy's nest, where the rules are king. If it's legal, hell. If it's illegal, but it's not caught, then it'll fly and be enforced. Nah, no you don't. I'm a fucking god of this stupid star game, and I know for a fact you didn't make the moves you made unless you know what the other person had. And the only way that works is if you've marked the cards. You're saying my moves didn't make sense? Well darn, I put a lot of thought into them too. But it looks like I've got lucky, don't you think? Polly's eyes flared with rage. The redhead was not helping her case. By the bar I noticed Ossa cracking his knuckles. Oh boy, were we about to get some real action in here? However, before the fun could begin, another person made a move. Oi, dipshit, think that's enough of that? A random girl beat Ossa to the punch. She looked a little familiar, so at first I thought I might have known her. However, I probably would have remembered encountering someone with hair dyed bright pink. Ow! For fuck's sakes, Kara, I'm in the middle of something here. You're in the middle of making a right ass of yourself. Let's get out of here. Or what, do you want to be on tomorrow's front page as well? Really trying to give your brother more ammo? You think I give a shit about what that dickhead thinks? Put me on a month's worth of newspapers for all I care. Yeah, see, that's the problem. As much as I'd love to watch you self-destruct, you got a promise to keep, and some work to do. That means waking up at a reasonable time, and that means getting out of this bog. The girl gave Polly another tug, and this time Polly stumbled backwards with it. Fine. Bedtime for me. Before leaving, however, Polly turned back around. I don't think I'm forgetting about you, though, you cheat. These little scams are going to catch up with you one day, you hear me? At this, the girl gave Polly one more push toward the stairs. Real sorry about him. He probably didn't mean it, he's just proper buzzed. Oh, it's okay, really. I mean, it's not your fault or anything. Well, it's my job to make sure he's not faffing about in places like this, so it is a little bit. Be seeing you. And with that, the girl followed Polly up the stairs and out of the casino. With the situation resolved, people began to look elsewhere. The scene had come and went. Well, that was a show, wasn't it? Oh? You look unenthused. Right. Really, didn't get any enjoyment out of that? When you're in my line of work long enough, scenes like that are too common to be interesting. Isn't that the sad truth? Good thing for the prince that this girl came and bailed him out soon enough. Things would have gotten real ugly for him if he'd kept pushing it. Ugly for him? I was a little surprised, but upon further thought it made sense. I also was about to step in before the fight got broken up. He must have planned to take the redhead's side. Planned on putting the rich prick through the ringer, huh? Not if I could help it. Not if I could help it? Now what on earth did that mean? I considered asking him for a bit more info. However, before I got the chance, I lost my privilege of being the only customer of Ossa's. If you're guessing that the walking disaster would have lost a fight to glasses, then I'd have to agree. Also, a Scotch whiskey, please. Ossa just grunted at this. If he had disdain towards me, he hated this joker. And fair enough. Who the hell liked Kane? Governor Aja, maybe. For everyone else with half a brain, the Oracle is nothing but pro-state propaganda. And the head of it, Kane Shea, a limp dick puppet. Well, I'm sure he had his fans. He didn't get to be the de facto source of news without any approval. But you weren't likely to find his fans in a place like this. Maybe wonder why he even bothered showing his face in a place like this. Maybe the dude was a masochist. Or secretly self-hating. Or maybe he was a real gambling junkie, just desperate to get his fix. Well, I sort of doubted that last possibility. Walking disaster, huh? That's what you call Polly Deismer? Well, you disagree with me? Not particular. Just surprised that that's the nickname you'd give him. And why is that? Didn't you recently do a puff piece for Olympo? I'd have thought you were on their side. Or are the opinions you put out completely hollow horseshit? I take it you're aware of me. Most around these parts are. Huh. Unfortunately, I'm afraid I can't say the same. You are? Locke. Locke, then. Kane offered a handshake. Felt a bit weird to take it, but flat out rejecting felt a bit rude. For the record, unlike a lot of reporters, I do at least actually stand by everything I write. And yeah, I back Olympo. I don't back Polly Deisman. That guy's a mess, entitled little shit who hasn't done an honest day's work in his life. He's a poster child for the worst type of rich person. So you're saying there's a good type? Ha! Alright, maybe you got me there. That non-response let me know that, yes, indeed, this guy probably did think that, but he was savvy enough to know that this wasn't the environment for that sort of talk. I was in a confrontational mood, however. Seriously, why back Olympo in the first place? I mean, okay, Maybe you don't care about them hurting local businesses, iron fist of the free market, blah blah blah, but they're a big faceless corporation with 1,000 branches that stand for nothing. Why go bad for them? I wouldn't say I go bad for them. Really? Look, there are some upsides to housing a big company like that. What? That we're going to have a sneak peek to the real-life version of every sci-fi movie before the rest of the country? That Panthea offers something. A thriving community of low-level mum and pop shows is nothing on a national level. The home base to one of the largest companies in the country is something. Maybe you're right that Olimpo takes a lot of small stacks, knocks them over and makes a big stack. I say good. People only take note of a big stack. Am I too drunk, or is there the faintest hint of being impressed in that grunt? Judging by the fact that you've already got 2 refills, yeah, I'd wager you're too drunk. But yeah, at least that's an opinion. More than I expected from you, to be honest. Well, here's to defying expectations. Kane toasted me and went back to drinking. Alright then, so ask me this. Why do you give a shit about how Panthea comes across on the national stage? How does that factor into anything? I don't know, a little something called citywide pride? Pride for Panthea, is it? This is the wagon you want to hitch yourself to? Matter of fact, I do. I really do. I care quite a lot about Panthea. More than most of these jackasses. You know, my grandfather was a politician. He was a decent part in leading Panthea into something that halfway resembles a decent city. If you're that into uplifting Panthea, why not go into politics yourself? Yeah, well, given my parental situation, I don't think that's really an option for me. Parental situation? I tried racking my brain. Oh, right. I vaguely remembered something about Kane's father. I wanted to say that he killed his mother, but to be honest, I wasn't 100% on the situation, and this didn't feel like the sort of thing I wanted to guess on. But yeah, when criticizing Kane, a lot of people jumped to making remarks about his dad. That always felt needlessly cruel. Hate the guy all you want, but don't drag some trauma like that into things. Yeah, I guess that's true. Sorry about that, for what it's worth. Yeah, it's fine, whatever. Probably a dead end from the start anyways. After all, it doesn't look like I'm going to be winning popularity contests anytime soon. And that's without becoming a politician. You got me there. Took a sip of my beer and then continued my line of questioning. So what? You think journalist is the best way to help out Panthea? It's a bit more to why I chose my occupation than that, Locke, but it certainly doesn't hurt. I lowered my voice a bit. If you love Panthea so much, why not point out the threat that the duets pose? Downplaying it seems like it's going to hurt the city in the long run. I don't know what you're talking about. If you're referencing me mentioning that crime's been at an all-time low, I'm not wrong. And don't give me that. You know that's not a good way of representing things. It isn't? Again, I think you're assuming insincerity when I'm being as straight as a fucking arrow. I'm in favour of the duets. You're what? Look, I don't know you, but I'm guessing you don't remember what things were like back when the Shikoma were around, or any of the other freak shows. Panthea used to be scarred. A war zone. Now at least there's order. I wanted to rebut that, but he was right. I wasn't around for the Shikoma. I didn't even know who they were. While I got the sense I disagreed with Kane, I also got the sense that he knew more about what he was talking about than I did. So I decided to just continue nursing my beer. After a brief bout of silence, Kane spoke up. You know, I didn't come here to talk politics. I came here to forget about it. So why don't you and me have a little bit of fun, huh? I'm flattered, but I don't usually do hookups in a place like this. I'm talking about gambling, fuckface. I was saying we should settle things the way they should be, over cards. Or what, you too chicken to actually gamble yourself? I checked my watch, an obvious knockoff of an expensive brand. There's still plenty of time to kill. And it could be fun fleecing this full of some cash. Alright, what the hell? I didn't come to drink, I came to gamble. I'll take you up on that offer. Ah, now that's what I like to hear. Let me finish this drink first and we'll get right to it. Both of us finished our beverages, paid and stood up. Then we made our way to the main floor, looking for an appropriate place for our match to begin. So you figure we both just sit at a poker table or something? Nah, that shit's boring. Let's face off at one of the private tables. Suit yourself. Nahoy's Nest was a bit of an unorthodox setup. Unlike a lot of casinos, there weren't too many tables manned by actual dealers. I mean, there were a fair few, but there were just as many empty tables with nothing but chairs and general gambling equipment. This is for anyone looking for a more individualized or personal gamble. Mr. Polly Dysmer was made a fool of at one of these tables just a short while ago. It was a bit of an odd setup, much like a lot of things about this place, but again, I liked it. In my head, gambles should be clashes of will between players. Dealers in generic games like blackjack and poker didn't hold much appeal in my eyes. The two of us made our way to a private table and stood on opposite ends. So we playing for money or what? I make it a policy to always gamble for money, no matter how small. I reached into my pocket for my wallet and took out 250s. Starting fee's 100. 100 for a starting fee? Kane looked a little startled at my proclamation. At first I thought, someone with a big shot job like the head of the Oracle must be raking it in. But look at it as a tire. It dawned on me that Kane might be a little less rich than I'd initially thought. The slightest out of guilt broke through. Hey, you know what? I think I should say something. Oh? I may not look it, but I'm actually something of a pro in this area. Oh, you look it. Thanks. Point is, I don't know what you're expecting, but I'm no chump. If you're playing to win, I temper those expectations. And if losing $100 would hurt, then maybe we tone down those stakes. This peace offering didn't go over well. Saying it aloud, I realized it sounded a lot more insulting than I'd intended. Ah, shit. Kane's face morphed into a scowl. Being honest, this one was my bad. Sometimes in life, things just come out wrong. This is one of those times. Kane reached into his pocket. Before I knew it, he'd taken out 4 $50 bills. I double it. And yeah, I am sure. So cough it up if you're so cocky. Didn't say I blamed him for this reaction. I sort of provoked him. But I also warned him. If he was going to slam down 200, I wasn't going to look a gift horse in the mouth. I reached back into my wallet and scrounged up another $100. Sounds good to me. I'll even let you choose what we'll be playing. Oh, thanks. Kane took a second to think, and then he had an idea. Here's the thing, Locke, my friend. I know you type well enough. That's so. You're doing a number on my feelings right now, you know. Oh, my deepest apologies. Anyways, I just don't feel great about any sort of standard game against you. I feel like you're likely to rake me across the culls. And even though I just made a big deal of making it a real bet, I think my wallet's been a little light lately. More than that, I think I'm just too prideful to lose to someone like you. Again, the like you remark really isn't necessary, man. But fine, what do you have in mind? I think you're a shark. So then, I think it's fair to play a game to test just how good a shark you are. But part of me wanted to object to Kane's assessment of my character, right as it may be. A greater part of me was interested as to what he was about to propose. So the gamble I'm proposing, I'm going to call it Monkey See, Monkey Do. Had to give it a catchy name, huh? Every good game has a catchy name. Every good article, maybe. I suppose you're more the authority on games than me. Still, I came up with it, so I get to name it. I'm less interested in the name and more in what the hell you're planning on having us do. I'm getting there. It's really simple. I'm about to make you a very simple bet. Painfully simple. I'm gonna let you see my whole process. And spoiler, I'm gonna win it. Then you've just gotta do the same back to me. And to be clear, this ain't some trick where you need to fold your tongue 7 times to win it or something. Because if it's like that, then I don't see the point in this. No. I'm trying to be sporting with this. The little trick I'm gonna do is something that you very easily could parrot back to me. Incredibly so. I just think you won't be able to. Oh, this prick. He's just being haphazard right now. He's trying to hit me where it hurt. He decided to forego typical games and made it a challenge to my ego. Figured I thought myself sharp, and he'd use this to take me down a peg. This Kane's more vicious than I'd initially had him for. Still, he made a decent mistake. I didn't think myself sharp. I was sharp. Sharper than anything this hack had up his sleeve, at any rate. Sounds fun. Unfair, but that's fine. I need a little handicap. Haha, yeah. It's gonna be like that? Okay. You'll change your tune soon enough. Sounds to me like you're agreeing to the rules. Sure, what the hell. Great. With a smirk, Kane took out a deck of cards, casually shook them out of their container. Now see, if I was gonna do some sort of third-rate magician, this is where I do a false shuffle or some shit. 3 problems with that approach though. I'm not a third-rate magician. I'm about 3 beers past having any sort of physical dexterity in my hands, and I know that sort of trick isn't gonna win me any favours. You just assume the deck was stacked and emulated. Correct. So I'll just go as is. Kane then took out a worn-out journal from his pocket, along with a pen. He tore a page from it and then scribbled something down. Finally, he folded the page and smacked it down in the centre of the table. We'll get to that in a minute. So now grab a couple of cards off the top of this deck. Does it matter how many? It'd be best for both of us if you grabbed less cards than you had fingers. But you know, you do you. Part of me wanted to try and deliberately throw a wrench into his plans, but that wasn't sporting, and I was just taking on this bet for fun. I grabbed a handful of cards off the top. Cool. You know, Locke, I have a little number for the philosophy. A number philosophy? God damn it. This is gonna be bad, and I know this is gonna be bad. This guy always makes things fucking difficult. The fuck's that? Just a little superstition about numbers. You don't have anything like that. I'm not a nerd, no. You'd be a jackass. I think anyone who spent enough time doing math in school, staring at numbers, began to think about them just a little. Didn't do a lot of thinking on the whole that's school. I can tell. Anyways, I really like the number 9. I think there's some real power in it. They say 3 is the magic number, but for me, it's 9 that holds real answers. Like, what's this? 9 began placing... 9? Kane began placing... My god, you just fucked my head with 9s already. We haven't even started yet. Kane began... It's too hot in here. I can't handle it. Fucking hell. Alright, calm down. Kane began placing cards down on the table in front of us, one by one, right to left. Eventually, he had 9 in a row. If you ask the 9 nicely, they'll tell you what you need to know. I bet you I can prove that right now. See, look at this. Kane then reached over and grabbed the sheet of paper he had written on earlier. He displayed it. The King of Spades hides in the 9. The number of cards Locke drew gives the answer. Well, I'll be. Isn't that something? That it is. I had a sinking feeling that I knew where this was going. Well then, Locke, how many cards do you have there? I spread out the cards in my hand. Turns out I'd drawn 6. 6, huh? Alright then. Kane counted out 6 cards left to right, and ended up hovering his finger above a certain card. Now, it'd be pretty cool if this was the King of Spades, don't you think? Flip the card, jackass, and get it over with. Just try to have a bit of fun with it. With a huff, Kane flipped over the card. Sure enough, King of Spades. Alrighty then, your turn. Kane swept up the cards and handed the deck to me. I'll give you a moment. He tore out another sheet of paper and handed me the pen. I had to admit, it was a good little parlor trick. But that's what it was, a magic trick. The type laid out in a middle schooler's magic book. Surely I could handle something this simple myself. So let's focus. First of all, let's stack the deck so I know the order of the cards. I made the top card Ace of Clubs. Next was the Ace of Diamonds, Ace of Hearts, Ace of Spades. Then came the 2 of Clubs, 2 of Diamonds, 2 of Hearts, 2 of Spades. And so on and so forth in that pattern. Kane had pretty much admitted his deck was prearranged, so this should be within the rules. As I took the time to do this, I thought carefully about everything. I watched closely and there wasn't any sleight of hand bullshit when Kane was sweeping the cards together. There was only one King of Spades. The note was also written from the start, and that was never switched. It wasn't written after the fact. What did Kane do in the trick? He wrote down the note, he let me pick some cards from the top of the deck, then he laid out the top 9 cards of the deck, left to right. Then he spouted some bullshit and opened the note. Then he counted the cards equal to how many I drew, and landed on the pre-selected card. Thinking about it that way, the first thing I needed to do in the trick was write the note. Oh boy. So here's my prediction. Watch closely or whatever. I picked up the pen and thought, he wasn't doing sleight of hand, I can confirm that, so what happened? Here we go. Okay, so what did I know? I chose a card, Kane predicted it. How was that possible? How much information did he have to work with? He stacked the deck. In other words, when did he know that the card I'd end up landing on? Was it from the very start? What's the other option? After I drew the number... No, it's from the very start. Right. Yeah, since he wrote down a card at the very start, he must have always known the card I'd ended up with. In fact, it's not particularly subtle even. I mean, randomly ending up with the King of Spades? No, that card has too much pizzazz factor. It was specifically chosen. It's alright. Kane knew the key card from the start. How? Well, how was the key card selected? I chose a random amount of cards off the top of the deck, then 9 cards were dealt. And based on the number of cards I picked, a card amongst the 9 dealt was selected. That's a pretty clear-cut summary of events. But was I labouring under a misconception? Thinking about it, I'm not sure I had a free choice in how many cards I drew. I kind of did. How many cards I drew actually changed which card would be selected. There, that one. I mean, the two seem related, but at the same time, doesn't the number of cards I draw directly affect which cards are dealt? I mean, both sets of cards come off the top, so for every card I draw, that's one card that isn't going on the table. I need to picture how the cards specifically move if I want to see through this trick. The real key to the trick is what took place between when I drew the cards and when Kane dealt the cards. The fact that Kane dealt and counted cards in opposite directions. What? This one? I mean, Kane needed to know how many cards I drew. That was central to his trick, and after he dealt the cards, well, the trick ran itself. So something must have happened in that time period. So what happened then? Did anything happen in that time period? Actually, thinking back, I'm pretty sure Kane started dealing cards right after I drew them. Oh shit. Alright, I got that one wrong. So it's this one. Thinking about it, if he dealt and counted cards in the same direction, then it really would be impossible to predict much of anything. But if I kept that fact in mind, look, let's reframe our thinking to center around the position of this key card known from the start. Every card I drew is a card not being placed to the right. Therefore, every card I draw is essentially shifting the key card one to the right. However, the number of cards Kane counted was equal to the number of cards I drew. For every card I drew, Kane would count one more from the left. A card counted can, in essence, be removed. So I could treat it as though every card I drew I was also shifting the keycard one to the left. But for every card I drew, the keycard shifted both one to the right and one to the left. And no matter how many I drew, I wasn't changing the keycard's position at all. Ah, Kane, you lazy, sneaky bastard. You can't do me with a trick this basic? A trick that ran itself? That crumpled under any scrutiny? Tisk tisk. Oh, thanks for making it easy for me to replicate your trick. I wrote 3 of hearts on the paper, then proceeded to follow the steps. Held out the cards, dealt them, counted backwards, and wouldn't you know it, my prediction came out correct. Looks like victory goes to me. Before Kane could complain, he was inevitably want to do. I reached forwards and snatched the money from Kane's side of the table. As expected, he tried to grab my arm. Too slow, dude. Come on, you must have had something better than that for me. You little shit. Kane, on the other hand, was quite irritated. I didn't get it, to be quite honest. Why was he taking this so personally? If he really wanted to win, he shouldn't have picked such a baby magic trick. If he wanted to win, he could have, but he didn't. Because I assumed he wanted this to be a sporting competition. So why'd he get this upset? What's your problem, man? It was your gamble. Yeah, and you won. Oh, my apologies. I should have thrown it. Asshole. I guess I didn't anticipate you being this experienced of a cheater. Seriously? How are you gonna say I cheated? I don't know. That's what makes you a good cheater. I was frankly a little stunned. The nerve of Kane. I was also starting to hear the slur in his words. He might have been more drunk than I thought. And he might have been a worse drunk than he thought. I was playing nice with you. To be treated like this. You know what? Fine. You think I cheated? Let's switch roles real quick. I grabbed the deck of cards and began shuffling it. We can do the exact same thing. I'll let you go first, then I'll go. If you can do it, or I can't, you get your money back. I'll even throw my half of the bet in as well. Really? Yeah. I'm doing this just to teach a lesson. Cocky shit. I'm gonna teach you to get out when you're ahead. I wasn't even grateful for giving him a second chance. Whatever. This is just kicking someone when they're down. I didn't like to do it, but Kane made me a worse person than usual. Alright, I hope you have a good memory. I reached into the middle of the deck of cards and grabbed a random one. I slid it out of the pile, leaving it face down on the table nearby. Neither of us know what the card is. Don't bother arguing with me about this, just trust me. I don't care enough about this pity round to be cheating. I flipped the top card of the deck face up. Now keep up. I flipped the next card, placing it atop the first, and then the next, and the next. I flipped from card to card in quick succession. Unless you had a diegetic memory, it was impossible to remember all these cards. Luckily I didn't have to. I was just adding the numbers displayed in my head, dropping the tens digit. 4, a 5 which made it 9, an 8 which made it 17 which made it 7, a jack which kept it 7. Finally I got to the bottom of the deck. I flipped through all the cards. The count was at 7, which meant the face down card was at 3. Alright then, what's the face down card? Kane just glared at me. You're kidding me. Process of elimination, my dude. If you were smart enough, you'd get it. Oh, fuck off. Yeah, I'll even make it easier for you. I flipped over the deck of cards and spread them all out. I'll give you 15 seconds to look at this and guess. I wasn't letting him look through the cards. I was looking through the cards myself, specifically searching for the 3s. 3 of diamonds, 3 of spades, 3 of clubs. Got it. Fucking 5 of clubs. Seriously? That was pretty close considering it was probably just some guess he pulled out of his ass. Kane had some decent luck on his side. Afraid not, my friend. Put my hand over the face down card. 3 of clubs. I flipped it and voila, 3 of clubs. I didn't know what reaction I was expecting. Kane began to chuckle to himself. Suppose that was around the middle of the scale. Alright. Fair play. You're better than I gave you credit for, Locke. Thanks, I guess. It's a compliment, don't worry. You know, you've gotten my attention. I'll keep an eye out for you. I tend to hang around dingy pits like this a lot, so if you come by some night, there's a decent odds you'll spot me. I think I might just do that. Because I'm a sore loser. I want a rematch, at a real game. I'll be happy to oblige, Kane. Happy to oblige. That's if you have $100 on you. Haha, will do. It was an oddly jovial note to end on. My mind briefly retraced the steps I took with Kane to get to this point. We really ran all over the place, emotionally speaking. And I guess we're on a sense of grudging respect. To be real, I don't know how much I actually respected him. On the other hand, this was definitely a useful connection to have. So sure, grudging respect. We can go with that. This was the thought process interrupted by my eyes catching a very specific person. The man I saw certainly couldn't be described as a head turner. In a lot of ways, he was pretty unassuming. Low-key suit, short black hair, unassuming build. It was hard to even recognize him with the lighting and the atmosphere and everything. But no, that was him. It was 100% without a doubt Buck. Man, my luck. Wow. Oh, this is fun, but I think I'm going to look for another gamble. A less personalized one, just blackjack or something. Cool, yeah, fun, man. For me, I think I've had my daily dose of escapism. Probably best to leave Wonderland and get back on the grind. You do that. Thanks for the company. I mention it. And with that, Kane began to walk away. So did I. But not to the blackjack table like I said, just to a spare wall. I need to compose myself before moving any further. I checked my watch. Right on time. Finally, Buck showed up. I was wondering earlier if this is going to be the night things would do or die. Back then, it was just a hypothetical. But now, when that man nervously ordered a beer from Ossa, laid eyes on me, the die would truly be cast. One way or another, I couldn't look back or falter. I'd be on a path. So then did I bail? Did I walk right up behind Kane, up those stairs, out of this hellhole? Did I get a normal job, a safe life, a stable relationship? I felt the weight in my pocket, the weight of the $200 I'd taken from Kane. It felt light. Far too light. Like I said, I was hungry. Too hungry to not put things into action. In some ways, I felt bad for Kane, seeing how much he loved this city. Because that man over there, as unassuming as he might look, he was actually a major player in this whole thing. The type that really shouldn't be spending his nights in Nahoi's nest, and yet for whatever reason, did. The type whose disposition would regularly lead them to falling prey to people like me. And that didn't mean he was my mark. No, my mark was the city of Panthea itself, and I was going to swindle it for all it was worth. Isn't that a nice little brain teaser to end on? How on earth do you go about swindling an entire city? Does that mean you swindle each and every member of the city? Because that feels like it needs like an institutional level con. Or a liberal use of taking credit vis-a-vis butterfly effect. Or maybe it means to swindle a city like philosophically? Don't even try to ask me what I mean by that. I will not answer. Either way, I'm down for it. Swindles are fun. Swindles are good. I mean, life's set up to be survival of the fittest. If you get separated from your money, that's on you. If you try to pickpocket someone and get your hand cut off, that's also on you. I'm meaning this in a literal sense, as you have to deal with consequences. I don't really care about whose fault it is. Never had to care. I haven't lost any money or gotten my hand chopped off. I guess I just admire swindlers because of the confidence that they have in themselves. To attempt to swindle someone is a challenge to their intelligence, and have full faith in your own. I like to think of myself as a pretty smart girl, but I'm not nearly cut out for that level of trickery. I usually end up being a lot more blunt. To proclaim you're going to swindle an entire city, well, Locke certainly has confidence. I doubt anyone could question that. But I don't know, I struggle to see it. I mean, this dude's picking chump change fights with drunk reporters using half-baked magic tricks. Can he really stand against the gods of Panthea? Because between you and me, if this dude wants to position himself against this entire city, he's got another thing coming for him. It just seems unlikely that he'd really be able to pull off what he claims. Well, that's the magic of the swindle, right? Having the impossible occur. I compared Locke to a magician earlier, and that's not a bad comparison. It is a bad comparison. The only difference between a swindler and a magician is a smidge of honesty. So, will Locke pull a rabbit out of a hat? Or will he fall flat on his face? Either way, I'll be entertained. Here's hoping you are too. No keys. Shit. Alright, well, we're jumping back into Locke's one and the next one. But obviously this is the one where, when we were Laverna, some murder took place in Nahoi's nest. He's going to be there for that. I mean, obviously. And that's when Devon comes after us. Well, because he was on a hit for us then. So that should be interesting. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Thanks.